Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me, the MISC STARLANCER TAC. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, welcome back to another review, and thank you to Cypher1, Proxy Fox, Maximus, Forsworn, Hunter NCK, What124, and WinRAR42 for joining me on today's review of the STARLANCER TAC. Now, this ship does deserve a brand new review because of all the changes over the past many patches since I have last taken a look at this ship. Let's just say from the beginning, this ship has become much more powerful. Sitting at a $375 pledge price if you were to get it on the website, or if you get it in game, it's 13,381,200 UEC. You can buy it at Area 18 or Loreville. It does have a claim time of 13 minutes and 19 seconds, or a expedited claim time of 3 minutes and 19 seconds, which means that you really won't recognize that it's even having a claim time, because by the time you're back to your ASOP, hopefully by the time you're back to your ASOP, that time's already expired, because it does start that countdown the second that you pull this ship. Now, you do have a total pilot burst damage per second of 4102 due to the 4 size 4 M6A laser cannons, which is really cool. Now, the pilot also has 16 size 3 Thunderbolt 3 EM missiles, which is really helpful. And then on top of that, you have a bunch of additional firepower due to your remote and manned turrets on this ship. The 2 top turrets have the 4 size 4 CF447 Rhinos, and the bottom 2 turrets have 4 size 5 CF557 Galderines. Now, I just have to say, those bottom turrets are in kind of a bad spot if you're looking for a really great coverage of your ship from any aerial threats. Now, it's not impossible to use that turret. If you've flown a Perseus, you're used to making your ship broadside. So if you broadside this ship with a little bit of a down angle to your right, you can allow your 2 top turrets and one of your side turrets to just lay waste into whatever target you're firing into. Now, those guns, I do recommend you switch out with something like what you see on screen right now. Swapping those front guns with deadbolts will help with your immediate firepower as the pilot, hopefully shredding any armor before that target gets onto your sides, and then you'll have the 84Bs and the 85Bs to go ahead and mop them up from there. And it's also good anti-fighter coverage with those ballistic gats on the top and the sides, instead of relying on something like a laser weapon that has to get through the shields first. So with that in mind, I would recommend this loadout, what you see on screen, for that. Now, you also have a turret seat that allows you to have 12 size 2 Ignite 2 missiles, which you can see at the back of the ship when you're taking a look, which we'll look at before we enter. Now, this ship, for defensive capability, does have a total quadrant shield of 144,000. Now, with that being a quadrant, that is spread between those 4 faces, so yeah, you'll tend to lose a face pretty quick. And then on top of that, this ship, this is where this thing really shines. In the most recent build, this ship has 18,150 ship armor, and you're like, okay, well, that's really not that much. But on top of that, it has a 347 deflection physical and a 396 deflection energy. That is bonkers. If you really look at every other ship in the game, especially something like a Paladin, which is meant to be a military combat ship, has twice as less. It's sitting at like 105 armor deflection compared to this thing sitting at 347 or 396, which is just phenomenal. That means any light fighter typically isn't going to be able to do anything to you, and that is always lovely to hear. And then on top of that, you do have 116,600 ship HP, so even if your armor strips apart and you start losing components, your ship won't ultimately explode for quite a long time, because on top of that ship HP, of course, you have that hidden HP, so it takes a moment for this thing to go critical. Now, you do have a pretty slow top speed because this thing is a big ship and it's not meant to be going fast in any direction, setting a top SCM speed of 150 with a 315 forward boost, a 155 backwards boost, and a top nav speed of 960. This thing definitely gets to its target and it's able to lay waste to its target, but it does get there a little bit slower compared to a couple other ships. It flies more like a capital ship in some regards, or a heavy freight ship, because the chassis is typically meant for heavy freight, but was adjusted for the gunship or drop ship etiquette, going out there and laying waste to, some bigger targets or a path site or anything like that, and it does do it pretty well, but you're not going to be able to escape certain situations in, any sort of quick fashion. So always be wary about what you're doing. Now, you have a total of 27, 27, 60 pitch yaw roll with a 32, 32, 72 boosted pitch yaw roll. So like I said, the thing's a little slow. Its maneuverability, it's not terrible, actually. That's not a horrible maneuverability. The biggest thing with this ship, though, is it is a support ship. You don't want to be going 1v1 with somebody unless you know for a fact that you're going to be able to take that target out. So it's better to use this ship in support. Have your guns manned, go in with a couple fighters or a couple other ships, and this thing can be very crucial in a fight. Now, you also have 100 flares and 60 noise, allowing you to hopefully avoid many missiles before having to leave the scene. And then on top of that, it still has a cargo grid on the back of the ship, which we're about to go ahead and take a look at here in just a second. First, let's take a look at this combat footage between us an attack. And then, just a little backstory. This TAC was laying waste to, ships that were just parked at a path site, and people in chat were like, hey, can anybody help with this TAC? We're like, hey, we're in the middle of this review. Let's go take a look. So we did. We jumped over there. Now, with the TAC 1v1, the TAC was going to win, not the TAC, but the Tiburon was more than likely going to win. We're a stock TAC. That laser is extremely powerful. So we did go in as a support ship to our friend in the M80 Cypher 1. In the end, the TACs, or the TIB, oh my God, too many T words. The TIB stood really no chance, and we wiped it out. Later on, they did say, oh, I'm going to come back with another TIB, but instead they came back with a Meteor, which you'll see that fight just 1v1, us versus the Meteor, and there you go. That would be what you see here. Let's take a look. All right, now that we're back, let's go ahead and take an interior look at this ship and see what it has to offer. Starting off with, well, I forgot to tell you how much fuel it has. It does have 48 SU of hydrogen fuel and 3.35 SU of quantum fuel, which means you're going to be able to go quite the distance without having to worry of turning back. Now, here is the rear of the STARLANCER TAC. It starts with this nice ramp, which allows you to load ground vehicles, which, as you can see, I do have a specific ground vehicle loaded in here, but you know what I like to do with this ground vehicle? Let's take a look. No, but seriously, that is a viable tactic. If you load a ground vehicle in here, the ground vehicle, when it makes impact, even from 3.5 kilometers above the moon or the planet, doesn't explode. You load that thing up with 10 people, you drop it in on a flyby past something, and you can easily make this a drop ship with very ease and comfort without having to get close to the ground. Now, looking at the back of the ship, you have the ramp, and then here is that remote missile turret controlled by the co-pilot seat, which is pretty cool, looking very nice. And then if you make your way to the front of the ship, you have another ground entry point, well, actually 3. You have the 2 side doors here, meant for the drop seats that you can see right there inside the ship, because this ship, while being a gunship, is also somewhat of a drop ship. So you do have those 2 entrances, one on each side, as well as your main elevator here, which takes you to the main part of the ship. You can call this down, it'll take you to floor 1 or 2. The pilot seat is on floor 2, the top floor, so just make sure you go there. But we're going to start with the back of the ship and start on floor 1, talking about each little room and feature, and then we'll go from there. With that, this is the NERSA. Oh boy, it is the NERSA, and I hate to see it because this ship already has a medical bed, so you really wouldn't need this unless you're doing what I say. You hop drop this in with a couple people, and then you leave the scene. But right here, you can carry a total of 96 SCU on the cargo grid on the left side here, as well as the right side here. With that in mind, if you don't put a vehicle here, like a Storm, or a NERSA, or an URSA, or something else, you can technically put a bunch more boxes off grid, but it is kind of a risk, especially in the future when weight matters and the ship isn't attuned for that weight. For now, though, you can do that, and it is pretty viable. Here is the button control for your door, which you can go ahead and close that up. Now, I have to say, the lighting in every ship in the game right now, not looking so great, so I'll be using my flashlight here and there throughout the review. You do have some windows in this room, which look really cool. They look very thick, very armored, able to take a hit before anything catastrophic happens. And then you have these elevators here, one here and one over here. I think these technically were more or less meant to be for bringing components up into the ship, but honestly, you can't do that. It's a size 3 component pretty much all around, and you can't remove the components. So instead, this leads you straight to habitation. So instead of having to go through the rest of the ship, you can just take this elevator straight on up, and then you also have a fire extinguisher. Now, if we make our way through this first big bulkhead here, which this honestly should be on the freelancers. This big old bulkhead door should be on the freelancers because the door that it does have between that first cargo room and the second one is terribly small. Now, when you make your way in here, this is your medical room. The STARLANCER TAC does have a medical room with 2 tier 3 medical beds, allowing you to take care of any injuries and have a short distance respawn. If you go to Evenlease.org, you can go ahead and see the medical tool. It shows you exactly how far that the tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1 respawns go, as well as the mining tool, which is pretty cool. Check that out. Now, from here, inside of this area, you just use the terminals. You can set your spawn. You can heal everything up right here, and it looks really great. Or you can come over here and use the storage. You can go ahead and open this up, and there's 2 of them, each one with a total of 800,000 micro SCU. Go ahead and close that back up. You got one there and one there. Right here's a little access point to go ahead and store some things like some, medical pens or drinks or whatnot. We'll go ahead and close that up. And then over here is how you would go ahead and refill your med gel. You'd open up this door, and those 2 areas right there would allow you to fill the med gel and go ahead and take care of the medical beds. We're going to make our way into the next room, which is the drop room as seen right there. Now, you do have a total of 4 seats on each side, and each seat does have an individual storage, which you can open up, and currently seems to be bugged. Let me check that again. These seat storages seem to be bugged currently, 0 out of 1. That's not great. Maybe it's only meant for ammo, and that's why they do that. And then you also have rifle storage right next to the seats, so you can put a rifle here, 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 or over here. It's pretty good, a good amount of storage. And here is your door control on the right and left side of the ship. You can go ahead and just pull that, and it brings it on, back up. Or if you go to the other side, I'm going to go ahead and push this back down. And as you can see, it comes out with this nice size 1 ballistic Gatling gun on the side. side, allowing you to do a full amount of firepower on your, drop here. You're coming into a combat situation, you go ahead and grip the gun, and there you go. You go ahead and start laying waste into what's around you, which is pretty nice. Now, outside of that, like I said, you got the 8 drop seats, you got the storage for your ammunition, and then you move into the next room, which is where your manned turrets are on each side of the ship. You can go ahead and get into each side of the ship turret via these seats. These turrets don't have a great firing angle. They're very limited to their side, so they are definitely broadside weapons, and that is how you got to consider it and use it while you're the pilot of the ship and if you have these manned. Now, if you make your way up through the next door, you go ahead and make your way into the main traversal area. You have an area for an airlock, which you go ahead and open that up, and you have a docking collar right here, which is pretty cool. Sooner or later, we'll get the ability to dock to other stations or, other ships, and this could be, something very handy. You go ahead and close that up, and you have a nice ladder here. So if you don't want to use the elevator or it's broken, maybe you have a power outage, you can take the ladder up to the second floor. You have another fire extinguisher. Now, if you make your way right on into this room right here, this is probably the harshest room of all. And what I mean by that is it's kind of pointless. This room in the max is an armory. You have suit lockers, you have weapon lockers, but currently in this ship, it is just nothing but suit lockers. It's kind of weird to have this here. This feels more of like a fill-in location. They're like, well, we already have weapons with the seats and storage. What else are we gonna put here? Let's just throw a bunch of suit lockers in here. It's kind of a wasted space, and I wish they would have done something differently with this room. But honestly, if that's the only complaint I have, that's not a bad complaint by any means. Now, normally I would take this elevator, but I'm gonna go ahead and take the ladder, and it is a little bit quicker. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, once you make your way onto the second floor, you'll go ahead and have the option to turn left or right to get to your next area. First, we're gonna start at the very back of the ship instead of going into the pilot's area. Right here is life support and a gravity generator. Now, if we make our way straight on into this door here, as you can see, it's a little bit dark, but it is your habitation area where you can go ahead and go to the restroom with this door here, open that up, and you got a nice little bathroom here with a nice mirror. And yes, I look crazy right now, and that's just because I've lost over 6 sets of armor. I've had to character reset 6 times in the past week, and it has not been good. Now, if we take a look in this kitchen here, it's a very dark and dramatic, dreary kitchen. Let's see if we can get the lights going here. I don't think we can because it's already in that, state of calm, right? You have some areas for a fridge right here. You can go ahead and open that up. It's a very big glass door. We're going to have some technical issues sooner or later with these doors, and it won't be good. Or you can just go ahead and crawl around the rest of the area and take a look. It is pretty nice. And then if you look straight on up, you usually had a window right here, but it's no longer there. There's no windows in here. Nothing at all. But in the max, you do have that access, which is pretty cool. Now, if we go ahead and look, they've got a nice table, nice little fire extinguisher on the wall over there. And then over here, you have another restroom. Go ahead and open that up, and you go to the restroom. So you got 2 bathrooms, one on each side of the wall here. And then you have a weapons locker with the access to specialty weapons on the side, rifles in the middle, handguns up top. You got all sorts of things here for you, and that is pretty nice. Now, if you make your way into the crew quarters, this is where your crew is going to sleep and, just kind of relax when they're not doing much. You do have bunk beds. You got a total of 2, 4, 6, 8 beds here, and it looks pretty good, a pretty nice amount of coverage. And then you have a total of 8 lockers. You can go ahead and open these up, each with a storage of 650,000 micro SCU. So that allows you to store it quite a bit in this ship. Now let's make our way out of habitation really quick and into the next area. This is where this ship just continues to blow your mind, because not only is it able to carry cargo, total of 96 SCU on grid and more off grid, but you have the ability to drop off troops. You have big guns. You have multiple elevators, including this one that goes back down to the cargo area, but you also have a medical room with 2 tier 3 beds. And then you open this up, and guess what you have? You have a hangar here that you can park a, pit bull or a Fury on, and it looks pretty cool when you do so. And you can even rearm, refuel, and repair the Fury or the pit bull that is on this grid, as long as you have the materials down on your cargo grid down below, which is just totally awesome. And to open that, you just go ahead and hit this button here. It opens up that hangar door, not a problem. Now, guys, we're a little bit into this video, and I gotta say, typically if these ships are bigger, and my video does say it's 10 minutes more or less, so it is the chance that it is going to be more than 10 minutes, and that's what happens. So thank you for riding along with me with that, and I hope you guys really do enjoy these videos and the intros. I have a great time making them. Now, once you enter into the final room in the back, this is your engineering room. This is where you're going to have all of your components. You can go ahead and open up every one of these things. You got components littering the walls. You got shield generators, you got coolers, you got power generators, you got, your relays, you got everything back here, mostly everything. And then you have your engineering terminal. Now, Now, if you make your way to the back wall, you got the quantum drive, which is pretty nice. And then you have your nice engine systems, which look gorgeous. Instead of walking into a Tiburon or a Hammerhead where you're going to gain cancer immediately from the engines because everything is just floating in air, this is here and it's contained and it looks fantastic. Now, let's make our way, fire extinguisher, to the front of the ship really quick. Why would there not be a fire extinguisher in this hangar? This is a safety concern if I've ever seen one. Is there one outside this door? Oh my goodness. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, if we make our way all the way back to the front of the ship. So many doors. Gotta love it. Door. Captain. Door. Captain. Oh my goodness. Right over here, you do have 4 escape pods. 1, 2, 3, 4. If there was anybody else on this ship, well, too bad. They're not coming with. Or they can try to cuddle in with you. But there are 4 of them here, and they are not working yet. Sooner or later, hopefully, we'll get working escape pods for our vessels. And then you make your way into the main area of the ship where you're going to be flying, gunning, and taking care of business. This is where you're at. Each door here on the side is one of the remote turrets on top of the ship. Or I said door, but each seat on the side here with a blast door is one of your remote turrets, and that blast door does open and does close. Sometimes if you desync over the server line, you might look like that. But these do work again, unlike in the last review of this ship or the Max, and that is pretty sick. You do have these here. Those are both your remote turret seats, another fire extinguisher, and then you got a computer area over here for where we can manually put on our computer blades, and you have a radar relay right here, which is pretty cool. I like that the radar is up front, easy to repair, and then you have the pilot seat and the co-pilot seat, and you have the football field of a area to lay in if you really wanted to. So if I want to just hop right on, hold on, let me see, hop right on up here, you could really just kind of lay up here and kind of get a suntan, right? Just like nice little suntan, taking care of things, you know. It does. Yeah, look at that, gorgeous. They have the dash that requires a rug of carpet or some kind to protect it. The bigger dash, the biggest dash that you've ever seen in your life, right? So I'll get into the pilot seat. You can see really quick what the mail slot view of this ship looks like, and then I'll give you my score. Honestly, this ship is fantastic in many ways. More recently, it is so very good with its armor update, and I hope we don't lose that in any regard because it is great. Now, I do have to say, when you're in this cockpit view, your mail slot view is tiny. It's a very tiny view. It is not one of the better views out of the MISC lineup. And then when you're staring straight ahead, you can't even see your MFDs, which I'm currently overheating because the systems on this ship, it can't keep any power anywhere. So I gotta turn this off for a moment because I gotta strip power from my cooling just to power anything else, and I'm still lacking power for my radar. So there's probably like one of your only real negatives about the ship is you have a terrible front view, and then you also have a power requirement issue, and that's kind of where you struggle. Those guns on the bottom do have kind of a limited angle of fire, but that's not an end all. It is a gunship after all, and it's probably more or less meant to attack ground targets or targets that are big, slow moving, and you're in support of other ships. With that in mind, this ship is a 94 out of 100. It did gain a few points since the last time because of its updated armor and its capability. It's pretty sweet being able to carry all these vehicles, all the types of SCU boxes that you want, as well as being able to heal yourself and be out there providing gunship fire support. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of the STARLANCER TAC down in the comments, and you guys are all truly phenomenal. I really do appreciate every single one of you, and of course, I'll see you all in the next one. If you're building a new PC, go through longshipindustries.com, a veteran-owned mom-and-pop business that takes pride in every single build. He built my personal rig, which you can actually see featured on the website. The care, warranty, and customer support are top tier. Trust Longship Industries for your next build.